Morning, ladies and gentlemen. I want to call this meeting to order. Just wondering if there's any additions to the agenda.
Reeve Council, Administration would like to request the following. Under 9, New Business, 9.4.3, Matrix Group LLP 2024 Amended Audit Report.
Anything else?
No other items for administration, Reeve.
All right. Would someone like to make a motion to adopt the agenda?
Make the motion to adopt the agenda as, with the new additions.
Okay, thank you, Councillor DeShane, for making that motion. That council approves adoption of the agenda as presented. Any discussion on this, council? I'm seeing none. I'll call for the vote. Okay, thank you, Councillor Crick. He's in favor. That's carried? Or did you guys? He says he's in favor. Okay, carried, thank you. On to the adoption of the minutes, regular meeting of council, November 25th, 2025. Would someone like to make a motion on that? Okay, thank you, Councillor Palmer, for making that motion. Gotta switch my screen here. Come on, everything's slow this morning. That council approves adoption of the minutes November 25th, 2025, regular meeting of council as presented. Any discussion? I'm not seeing any. I'll call for the vote. Councillor Crick, you back on now? Awesome. That's carried. Thank you. Guess we're going on to number 8, 8.1. Morning, ladies.
Good morning. Firstly, I'd like to make note of an error in the title of the subdivision application 2025 S017. It should read Northwest 35, 616 west of the 4th Meridian. The remainder of the RFD is correct.
Sorry, can you say that again? Northwest of what?
It should read Northwest 35, 616 west of the 4th Meridian.
Okay, thank you.
Administration is presenting subdivision application 2025-S-017 for council's consideration. This application proposes 1 3-acre parcel and 2 2.5-acre parcels from agricultural quarter section Northwest 35, 616 west of the 4th Meridian, as shown on the map in Appendix A. Notification of the proposed subdivision was sent to referral agencies and adjacent landowners with a deadline of November 13th to submit concerns to be considered at today's council meeting. No concerns have been received regarding this application. The subject site is located approximately 1.5 miles west of Highway 41 on Township Road 620. The application complies with the Municipal Government Act, Subdivision and Development Regulation, Lower Athabasca Regional Plan, Municipal Development Plan, and the municipality's Land Use Bylaw number 1667. Therefore, it is recommended that the proposed subdivision be approved with the following conditions. Pursuant to Municipal Government Act Section 655, all approaches, culvert, and internal roads be installed. Pursuant to Municipal Government Act Section 661 and 662, that the applicant dedicate a 17-foot wide strip of land for road widening along the entire frontage of the north and west side of the remnant and proposed parcels to be registered by separate road plan. That cash in lieu be paid to the municipality, and a deferred reserve caveat shall be registered on title, and all outstanding property taxes to be paid.
Thank you. Questions, or would someone like to make a motion? Mr. DeShane, I'll put you on. Go ahead.
Just a question, was there any discussion on if he has sales for these lots, or is he going to build on them, or?
He did not identify that during the application process.
Okay. If there's no more discussion, I'd make a motion to approve them.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Councillor DeShane, for making this motion. That council approves subdivision application number 2025S017 for a 1 3-acre parcel and a 2.5-acre parcels from agricultural quarter section Northwest 3561-6 west of the 4th M for the Tizards as per the following conditions before us. Any discussion on this motion? I'm seeing none. I'll call for the vote. That's carried. Thank you. We're going to 9.2.1. Oh, no, we're not. It's not time yet, right? We can? Okay. Yep, sorry about that. Sorry, big guy, I kind of put you on the spot there quick like.
Getting it up on my screen here, so I'll just have to read off the,
Caroline has the same computer going on this morning.
okay. So this has to do with bylaw 1925, bylaw enforcement officer bylaw. So every municipality has to have a bylaw enforcement officer bylaw. The municipal district of Bonnyville requires a formal process that clearly authorizes the chief administrative officer to appoint bylaw officers. Under the Municipal Government Act, municipalities must ensure their enforcement personnel are properly appointed to exercise bylaw and enforcement authorities. At present, the MD does not have an established appointment process that reflects these legislative requirements. Granting the CAO the authority to appoint bylaw officers will align the MD with the MGA, ensure legal compliance, and support efficient delivery of bylaw enforcement services. And so then under the discussion of benefits, granting the CAO the authority to appoint bylaw officers offers several advantages, including full alignment with the MGA, stronger legal standing for enforcement activities, and the ability to make timely appointments that support uninterrupted service delivery. This change also creates a clear administrative process and improves accountability for maintaining appointment records. The main drawback is that it adds an administrative responsibility to the CAO's office and may require updates to existing policies and procedures. And the appendix is available for view and review. I'll take any questions that you may have on this topic.
They're not asking too many questions today, so
Doesn't look like it.
Oh, not yet. There we go. Councillor Crick, go ahead.
I did have one. I just see that they're asking for all three readings in one sitting here, and I don't know if we can, is it necessary? Like, can we just do first and second reading? Is it really necessary to do three readings in one sitting here?
Well, I can't speak to what council's appetite for doing three readings. It's been done in the past. However, I think in this case, because the bylaw is necessary and we simply don't have one in place, it was thought that we should get it, before council as soon as possible and get it enacted as soon as possible. But we can definitely stretch this out. We've been without one for quite some time, so it's at council's leisure.
Would someone like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion for first reading.
Right, thank you, Councillor Crick, for making that motion. That bylaw number 1925 being a bylaw of the municipal district of Bonnyville number 87, respecting and appointment and empowerment and disciplinary procedures by bylaw enforcement officer to be given first reading. Any discussion on this motion, council? Councillor DeShane.
To the rear, thank you. Was there a reason this was prompted you to bring this up? Or we have something happened that brought this into the light?
So through the chair, through the Reeve, we had no knowledge, I guess would be the only way to explain it, that this was a requirement. There was an assumption that was made that being that we were peace officers appointed by the province, and then we were employed by the municipality, that there was a connection there that allowed us to enforce municipal bylaws officially. So the fact that that wasn't in fact in place was a bit of a surprise when it was discovered. We reached out to a few other peace officer places.
Yep.
And determined that they did in fact have a bylaw in place that we were lacking. So we kind of jumped on it right away and wanted to ensure that we were on the right side of policy and legislation when it came to these things. So really, no, it was just an oversight that you didn't know what you didn't know at the time, and that's where we ended up finding that we needed to make a change.
Well, thank you for digging into the notes and finding that, yeah. If we need it, we need it. Do we need another motion to?
No, that was
Second read.
just discussion on that motion,
Okay.
I believe. Any other discussion on this motion? Councillor Crick, you have anything else? All right, then I'll call for the vote. That's carried, thank you. Looking for a motion to go to second. Thank you, Councillor Palmer, for making that motion that bylaw number 1925 be given second reading. Any discussion? I'm seeing none, I'll call for the vote. Yep. Carried. Looking for another motion, proceed to third and final reading. Councillor DeShane.
I'll make a motion to go to third and final reading on that.
Thank you, Councillor DeShane, for making that motion. That council proceeds to third and final reading for bylaw number 1925. I'll call for the vote. That's carried. And looking for third and final reading. Mr.
That was it. That was the third, wasn't it?
No, that's to go to third. Yep, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Kaluk. Sorry, Councillor Kaluk, for making that motion, that bylaw number 1925 be given third reading. Any discussion on this motion? I'm seeing none, I'll call for the vote. That's carried, thank you.
Thank you, council, and I apologize for the technical issue there at the beginning.
It's okay. It feels like Monday. On to 9.3, planning development, 9.3.1. You ladies look very familiar. I think I've seen you already today. Morning.
Morning.
Again.
Before we begin with all the upcoming roadway licensing items, we do have online GIS available if council would like to request to see that as well. Otherwise, we'll stick with the RFD.
Awesome, thank you.
Administration is requesting a decision for first reading of roadway license bylaw number 1907, authorizing the MD of Bonnyville to enter into an agreement to license the road allowance as described in Appendix A, in accordance with policy number 3A.018 to be used for grazing purposes. Bylaw number 1907 is the renewal of existing roadway license bylaw number 1826, which expires December 31st, 2025. A copy of the roadway license agreement application was provided to internal departments for review and recommendation, and there were no concerns. Administration is recommending that council give first reading to bylaw number 1907.
Thank you. Councillor Palmer?
Would I be able to get the aerials on those, please? Thank you.
I think so, yeah.
This particular bylaw is requesting the road allowance to the north of those two small parcels. Yep, and then over to the west. And then further below that portion of the lake there, yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm looking at the map there.
Yeah, me too.
Thank you. Go ahead, Councillor DeShane.
Just a question, I was here when we switched over from leasing the road right-of-ways to licensing the road right-of-ways. Is there a legal reason we did that? Like, I'm not sure why we switched it over. Does it give the landowner or the license holder the more authority over that land, or how does that work?
Through the chair, a license gives permission to use the land without granting any legal interest in it, making it easier for the municipality to control, change, or terminate the agreement. So a lease gives the leasee more control or an interest in the land versus a license.
I thought it would be the other way around. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and through to Reeve, in order to actually lease a road allowance, we needed to have it signed off by the Minister of Transportation. So a license does not need the signature of the Minister of Transportation. So when we were doing it previously, we were not doing it completely without getting the signature of the Minister of Transportation. So it got changed over to a license. You're welcome.
Ed, we made something better for once, eh? Any other questions on this, or someone like to make a motion for this one? Yes? All right, thank you. Councillor Palmer for making the motion that bylaw number 1907 being a bylaw of the Municipal District of Bonnyville number 87 roadways and license be given first reading. Any discussion on this motion? I'm seeing none, I'll call for the vote. That's carried on to 1908.
Administration is requesting a decision for first reading of roadway license bylaw number 1908, authorizing the MD of Bonnyville to enter into an agreement to license the road allowance as described in Appendix A, and in accordance with policy number 3A.018 to be used for pasture and livestock grazing between parcels northeast 1562-1 west of the 4th and part of Northwest 1462-1 west of the 4th. Bylaw number 1908 is the renewal of an existing roadway license bylaw number 1817, which expires December 31st, 2025. A copy of the roadway license agreement application was provided to internal departments for review and recommendation, and there were no concerns. Administration is recommending that council give first reading to bylaw number 1908.
Thank you.
I'll make the motion for first reading, please.
Thank you, Deputy Reeve Fadeev, for making this motion that bylaw number 1908, being a bylaw of the Municipal District of Bonneville, number 87, roadways and licensing, be given first reading. Any discussion on this motion, council? I'm seeing none. I'll call for the vote. That's carried. Thank you. On to 1909.
Administration is requesting a decision for first reading of roadway license bylaw number 1909, authorizing the MD of Bonnyville to enter into an agreement to license the road allowance as described in Appendix A and in accordance with policy number 3A.018 to be used for the continued location of an existing communication tower. Bylaw number 1909 is the renewal of an existing roadway license bylaw number 1838, which expires December 31st, 2025. A copy of the roadway license agreement was provided to internal departments for review and recommendation, and there were no concerns. Administration is requesting that council give first reading to bylaw number 1909.
Thank you. Just looking for a motion. Okay, thank you. Councillor Kaluk for making this motion that bylaw number 1909 being a bylaw of the Municipal District of Bonneville, number 87, roadway and licensing be given first reading. Any discussion on this motion? I'm not seeing any. I'll call for the vote. That's carried. Thank you. On to 1910.
Administration is requesting a decision for first reading of roadway license bylaw number 1910, authorizing the MD of Bonnyville to enter into an agreement to license the road allowance as described in Appendix A and in accordance with policy number 3A.018 to be used for additional yard space. Bylaw number 1910 is the renewal of an existing roadway licensing bylaw number 1824, which expires December 31st, 2025. A copy of the roadway license agreement application was provided to internal departments for review and recommendation, and there were no concerns. Administration is recommending that council give first reading to bylaw number 1910.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Crick, for making the motion that bylaw number 1910 being a bylaw of the Municipal District of Bonneville, number 87, roadways and licensing be given first reading. Any discussion on this motion, council? I'm not seeing any. I'll call for the vote, please. That's carried. Thank you. On to 1911.
Administration is requesting a decision for first reading of roadway license bylaw number 1911, authorizing the MD of Bonnyville to enter into an agreement to license the road allowance as described in Appendix A in accordance with policy number 3A.018 to be used for gravel pit access and operations for surface material leases. Bylaw number 1911 is the renewal of an existing roadway license bylaw number 1816, which expires December 31st, 2025. A copy of the roadway license agreement application was provided to internal departments. Infrastructure Services recommended prior to roadway licensing agreement being executed, an agreement of transfer of aggregate to the MD will be completed, and a road allowance aggregates royalty agreement between the applicant and the Crown is also to be completed. Administration is recommending that council give first reading to bylaw number 1911.
Thank you. Looking for a motion. Thank you, Councillor Klug, for making this motion that bylaw number 1911, being a bylaw of the Municipal District of Bonneville number 87, roadways and licensing, be given first reading. Any discussion? I'm seeing none. I'll call for the vote, please. That's carried. Thank you. On to 1912.
Administration is requesting a decision for first reading of roadway license bylaw number 1912, authorizing the MD of Bonnyville to enter into an agreement to license the road allowance as described in Appendix A and in accordance with policy number 3A.018 to be used for the continued use of an existing cabin on the road allowance. Bylaw number 1912 is the renewal of an existing roadway license bylaw number 1810, which expires December 31st, 2025. A copy of the roadway license agreement application was provided to internal departments for review and recommendation, and there were no concerns. Administration is recommending that council give first reading to bylaw number 1912.
Thank you. Looking for Councillor Palmer.
I just have a quick question. So this is a first reading, so this has not been leased before, prior to this particular application, correct?
It was licensed since 2022, so one term.
One term, and now we're redoing a 3 reading?
Yeah.
Is it the same individual?
It is the same holdings corporation.
Thank you.
All right, just looking for a motion. Councillor Crick, thank you for making that motion. Councillor Crick, that bylaw number 1912 being a bylaw of the Municipal District of Bonneville number 87, roadways and licensing, being given first reading. Any discussion on this? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. Thanks. That's carried. Thank you. I guess so we have 9:30, so we'll have to cut you ladies off for a bit. Sorry.
It's me again.
See you again? Oh,
Just about done with me.
do you guys want to do that or finish the other ones? Does it matter?
I don't believe we have anyone here for the public hearing, so it's either one.
Okay, we'll just finish it off. If you believe no one's here for a public hearing, then we'll do the public hearing right after 9.3.9. Is that proper or is that okay? Yeah? Steph? All right. Continue with 1913, I believe we're on. Is
Yeah.
that correct?
That's correct. Administration is requesting a decision for first reading of roadway license bylaw number 1913, authorizing the MD of Bonnyville to enter into an agreement to license the road allowance as described in Appendix A and in accordance with policy number 3A.018 to be used to access the parcel from Range Road 411A. Bylaw number 1913 is the renewal of an existing roadway license bylaw number 1835, which expires December 31st, 2025. A copy of the roadway license agreement application was provided to internal departments for review and recommendation, and there were no concerns. Administration is recommending that council give first reading to bylaw number 1913.
I have Councillor Shane followed by Councillor Palmer.
Just a quick question. So is this is an existing entrance to that piece of property that's been used for some time?
Through the Reeve, yes, they are using it as their driveway.
So the access on the subdivision road is not there because of other properties? The other properties are in the way?
Yes, through the Reeve, yes, there we are. They are currently using the triangular parcel to the east as an access from the internal subdivision road, which is not legal physical access.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Palmer.
I'll withdraw my question because now I just remember where this was. Thank you.
All right. Okay, thank you, Deputy Reeve Fadea, for making this motion that bylaw number 1913 being a bylaw of the Municipal District of Bonneville number 87, roadways and licensing be given first reading. Any discussion, council? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. That's carried, thank you. On to 1914.
Administration is requesting a decision for first reading of roadway license bylaw number 1914, authorizing the MD of Bonnyville to enter into an agreement to license the road allowance as described in Appendix A and in accordance with policy number 3A.018 to be used for agricultural purposes. Bylaw number 1914 is the renewal of an existing roadway license bylaw number 1839, which expires December 31st, 2025. A copy of the roadway license agreement application was provided to internal departments for review and recommendation, and there were no concerns. Administration is recommending that council give first reading to bylaw number 1914.
Thank you. Thank you, Deputy Reeve Fidea, for making this motion that bylaw number 1914 being a bylaw of the Municipal District of Bonneville number 87, roadways and licensing be given first reading. Any discussion? I'm seeing none, I'll call for the vote. That's carried. On to 1915.
1915. For the public hearing?
That one's a big one. We won't do that.
Okay, let's go to the public hearing then. Before we begin with the, I need a motion to go into public hearing, sorry. I'll read first, all right. Sorry, haven't done these, one of these for a bit. Last meeting? Before we begin with this public hearing for bylaw number 1898, road closure and disposal, I'd like to announce that this public hearing is being recorded and will be accessible for public viewing. Initially, I'd like to remind in-person attendees who wish to address the public hearings on today's agenda to register your name on the speaker's list at the entrance of council chambers. I would also like to outline the procedure as followed for this public hearing. We will begin with a staff report from administration, followed by a question from administration from council. Next, the applicant will have the opportunity to provide a presentation, followed by the questions of the applicant from council. We will then call upon a member of the public who wishes to speak in support of the application, followed by those who wish to speak in opposition of the application. Council may ask questions of the public presenter during this time only. Participants will be called to speak in the order they appear on the registered list, starting with the electronic participants, followed by the in-person attendees. Registered virtual participants must ensure their cameras off and microphones are muted, except when it's their turn to address council. When addressing council, participants must clearly state their name and if they are speaking on their own behalf or on behalf of another person or group. The MD reserves the right to immediately remove all participants who are continuously disruptive to the public hearing, present in an appropriate manner, including virtual attendees on camera and or use inappropriate language. The applicant will have a chance to address and rebut any opposition of their application, followed with council. We'll have the opportunity to ask questions based solely on the information presented during the rebuttal. Finally, we will entertain any final questions of council and administration before closing the public hearing. May I have a motion to open public hearing? Thank you, Councillor Crick, for making that motion. That public hearing for item 4.1 bylaw number 1898 road closure and disposal be open at 9:39 a.m. Any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. That's carried, thank you. I'm going to open the hearing now and administration's presentation. Go ahead.
Administration is presenting for public hearing roadway closure and disposal bylaw number 1898, authorizing the MD of Bonnyville to close and dispose of by direct sale at fair market value portions of undeveloped public roadway within Northeast 1061-7 west of the 4th Meridian, as shown on the map in Appendix A in accordance with policy number C-3A.022, disposal of roadways policy. The applicant has requested to close, purchase, and consolidate the portions of roadway into their 71.97 acre parcel, as the undeveloped portions of this 1965 subdivision road plan are no longer necessary. Bylaw number 1898 was given first reading by council on July 8th, 2025. A public hearing was held on August 26, 2025, with no concerns received, and on October 31st, 2025, Alberta Transportation approved this bylaw with no concerns. However, pursuant to MD of Bonnyville bylaw number 1892, the procedural bylaw, Clause 24M and N, councillors who are absent for the whole public hearing must abstain from voting on the matter, and if the number of councillors present at the meeting is less than quorum, after those councillors have abstained from voting, the debate and vote is postponed. Given the 2025 municipal election results, the number of councillors present at the August 26th public hearing does not meet current quorum requirements to maintain transparency and enable council to vote on second and third reading of this bylaw. Administration recommended holding a public hearing. Following this public hearing, administration will present bylaw number 1898 to council for second and third reading.
Thank you. Is there any questions at this time from council? Councillor Palmer.
I have one question. When we reviewed the other one that was adjacent the other day, or the other meeting, this one, are we putting any conditions regarding the access through the municipal reserve? Shall that access be closed and be used to the north approach versus crossing the municipal reserve with the existing?
Through the reef to Councillor Palmer, we will be making sure that they are not using the municipal reserve as access to the parcel, so we will follow up with that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, I'm not seeing any. I'd like to announce at this time we have no written submissions. We have no virtual attendees, no in-person attendees. I guess, is there any final questions for administration from council? All right, I'm looking for a motion to close the public hearing. Thank you, Deputy Reeve Fadeev, for making that motion. That public hearing for item 4.1 bylaw number 1898, road closure and disposal will be closed at 9:43 a.m. Any discussion on this motion? I'm seeing none. I'll call for the vote. That's carried. Thank you. How long will this one take? Nope, just smiling. Can't be taking long. Because I missed the first 9:30, I don't want to miss the 10 o'clock. All right, go ahead.
Every municipal council shall, by bylaw, adopt a land use bylaw for the purpose of regulating and controlling the use and development of lands and buildings within the municipality. The current land use bylaw was adopted in 2017 and has undergone several amendments since then. Administration has engaged Stantec Consulting to undertake the LUB review and update and is presenting the draft for first reading. Administration initiated the LUB review to address issues such as aligning the LUB with regional and provincial legislation and policies that have come into effect since the last update, such as changes to the MGA. Align the LUB with the MD of Bonnyville's long-term development direction from the municipal development plan. Align the LUB with recently approved area structure plans. And ensure that the LUB addresses emerging trends and responds to demands in development. Administration and Stantec introduced the project in April of 2024 and held open houses in May of 2024. The information received was compiled into the first What We Heard report and taken into consideration when drafting the LUB. Once the draft LUB was created, it was posted on the MD of Bonnyville's website and social media accounts with a survey for feedback open from June 12th to August 18th, 2025. Multiple press releases, social media posts, and an article in the June 2025 Rural Review were released to promote this engagement. Stantec compiled a second What We Heard report for the LUB draft, which was presented. Okay. So reference to strategic plan was goal 3, promote community development. And the cost, $58,413. The communication strategy, once adopted, the land use bylaw will be distributed in accordance with the MD publication notification bylaw. And administration recommends that bylaw 1915, being a bylaw of the municipal district of Bonnyville, number 87, land use bylaw, be given first reading.
Thank you. Take some water now.
Yeah.
Councillor Palmer.
So I'm just curious, the alignment of the LUB with regional and provincial legislation policies that have come into effect since the last update, such as the MGA, so what changed? That we
So
need
one of the,
alignment?
through the chair to Councillor Palmer, one of the changes that we didn't address in the previous land use bylaw was the process for sending notification when we receive permits. You know, the MGA says you have to accept a permit within 20 days of receiving it, and then you have to make your decision within 40 days. The previous land use bylaw did not have that documented in it, so that was one of the changes that we addressed.
Okay. And align with the LUB of the long-term development direction of the MDP. So because the MDP's been renewed, we're just bringing this into alignment with that?
That is correct, yeah.
Good, thank you.
Any other questions, or would someone like to make, Deputy Reeve, go ahead.
Yeah, in regards to, this is a pretty contentious subject. So in regards to what we heard, as far as, would the consultants be open to coming in and giving us an overview before we go to second reading?
Yep, the consultant is planning on coming and presenting at the public hearing. So the consultant will be here for the public hearing, which we are right now planning for February.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
Any other questions, or, okay, thank you. Councillor Crick, then Councillor DeShane.
Yeah, I just wondered if the consultant would come before the public hearing, do their presentation, that way people can kind of hear it and have a chance to think about it if they want to say something at the public hearing, right?
So just to clarify, you're looking for the consultant to give a presentation to council?
Yeah, if they wanted to give a presentation on, you know, it's a very extensive, large document. If they want to kind of go over what the changes were, kind of their presentation before the public hearing, then that'll be public, and then that gives the public a chance to, I guess, kind of understand what's going on. And then if they want to present at the public hearing, if the consultant comes only at the public hearing, presents, then the public have kind of lost their chance to have any say in it at that point, unless they're, you know, prepared on the spot to say what they want to say.
Sorry.
So,
Yeah,
yeah.
just one sec. Go ahead. You wanna answer?
Normally, the engagement that was done in person, and then as well through the survey would be when people would reach out with any questions and stuff they had, as well as at that time, the draft was on the website so it's been like 6 months that it's been up there. So if people had questions, we definitely welcome them at that time. The way that the legislation is done now, that we can only have one public hearing, correct, for a planning? So for a planning item, we definitely can only have one public hearing. So I'm not quite sure a presentation would maybe be considered that.
Through the Reeve to all of council, it is something we could schedule them in as a delegation. The only thing to keep in mind is that because council is supposed to maintain an unbiased opinion on a document until after the public hearing, it may not be recommended. We certainly could, as long as council can confirm that they would be keeping an open mind and not form any unbiased opinions before the public hearing. But that would probably be my only concern from the administrative side. But we could schedule them in as a delegation as opposed to a part of a public hearing process. The only thing would be to keep in mind that it would just be on the agenda as a delegation, which we already have at least 2, if not 3 delegations per meeting in January already.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, one more question on that note.
Let them finish.
Has there been much feedback from the public on this, like since it's been up on the website for 6 months?
We did receive numerous responses in the forms of the surveys, and I have had people reach out to me directly, but a few people.
And then the final point, so we go through the public hearing, and then if we want to make, as council, if we want to make changes to it, then we can just do that before second reading, or what? Or how does that work?
Yeah, that's correct. We can present changes at second reading as requested by council,
Okay,
and third reading too.
okay.
All right, thank you. Councillor DeShane?
Yeah, I'd like to apologize through the read to the staff. I've had a lot going on there, and I didn't get to all the information in this. This is a pretty big read, and I'd like a little more time on this before we go to first, second, and third reading to get a complete gist of it and the changes. Is this just going to need to be done before the new year, or can this go into the next season?
Through the Reeve to Councillor Duchesne. So this is just first reading. Any changes can be made anytime prior to second reading, and also prior to third reading, changes can be made.
Yeah, we still need to go through first reading, and then you'll have second and third for sure.
Administration would recommend that we would also want to hear from the public before making any changes as well.
That's correct.
Correct.
Good.
Thank you.
Okay, Deputy Reeve Fadeo, then Councillor Palmer.
Thanks for bringing that up, Severin. That's a very important key of this. We have to be unbiased before the public hearing comes in. And when a public hearing comes in, it's just going to be public hearing. All discussions can be had from the public and from council. And then we'll have time between second and third reading and so on. So lots of changes could be made possibly to it. So that's the reason for the public hearing, is for everybody to hear it, not for us to have a bias or a non-biased opinion before the public hearing comes in.
Yeah, I totally agree. Councillor Palmer.
Through the Reeve, was there any presentation made to council once the draft was originally received prior to going to the open houses by Stantec?
No, there was no presentation made to council. It was just, council received a copy of it and the What We Heard report.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Councillor Crick.
Okay, I'm going to make a motion to go do first reading, and we can have the public hearing, and then if we need to make changes, we'll make changes at second reading. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Councillor Crick, for making this motion. That bylaw number 1915 being a bylaw of the Municipal District of Bonneville, number 87, land use bylaw, be given first reading. Any other discussion on this, council? I'm not seeing none. I'll call for the vote. Sorry, go ahead. Mr. Kalou? Did you vote? Yeah. It's flashing? Mine is flashing too. There we go, carried.
Thank you.
Thank you, ladies. I think we're going to take a 5-minute break before our 10 o'clock. Thank you. All right, welcome back. We're going into a public, delegation for HM Aero Aviation Consulting.
Good morning, Mr. Crooks. Just letting you know you're muted, so if you're speaking, we can't hear you right now.
Okay, perfect. Good morning to council. And sorry, just one thing, Stephanie, would we be able to mute the room mic? Just getting that feedback we talked about on Friday there.
Morning.
Okay, take 2. Sorry, I think I'm still getting that, Stephanie. Okay, perfect. Well, good morning to council, members of administration, and the public as well. My name is Ben Crooks. I'm the airport planning consultant with HM Aero Aviation Consulting. And it's my pleasure to be here this morning to give an overview of the Bonneville Regional Airport Master Plan and the final report that's been provided to council this morning. I think just at the outset, I will say, on behalf of our whole team at HM Aero and our sub-consultants have been involved in the project, we've been grateful to have had the opportunity over the past roughly year to advance this project with the MD and with administration and the community. So looking forward to giving a high-level overview of the project to you today. I'll briefly just restate the overall progression of the project. I recognize for some members of council, you've seen kind of interim reports on the project as we've gone through, but we did begin work with the MD back in January of 2025. That was when the project kicked off there. In March 2025, our team came out to Bonneville. We held the site visit at the open house, completed the airport inspection, and at that point, we did have a touch point with council on where the project was at that time and where it would be proceeding. Over the summer, or over the late spring, early summer, we commenced work on an interim draft report. I'll come back to that in just a moment here, but essentially the intent of that deliverable was to serve as a midpoint check-in with council, gain buy-in on the overall strategic direction being advanced through the master plan. And in parallel to that process, there was a non-aviation land development assessment being advanced by a partner of ours, Parcel Economics. I'll speak to that later on in the presentation. After that interim draft report was considered by council in early July of this year, our team returned and set about complete the draft airport master plan. So that was completed in September 2025. In parallel to that, there was some detailed analysis done on water and sewer servicing feasibility at the airport by SEMA Plus. That draft report was received by the MD administration. They went through that document, provided their feedback, their updates, and that leads to the delivery of the final airport master plan that is before council today. That was done in late November of this year, and of course here we are now with consideration of that document by council. It's our understanding that today our intent is just to provide an overview presentation of that document, and likely it'll return to council for discussion through committee of the whole in the future. But essentially, with the completion of the airport master plan, this really gives the direction moving forward for the implementation of the various recommendations that we lay out through that document, and I'll give a brief overview of some of those today. Just to restate briefly, the slide in front of you here was something we talked through at length back in July, once the interim draft report was done, and essentially it was laying out different strategic directions, different strategic options for how the airport could be advanced in the future, given different opportunities and different priorities. As council may recall, our team, when we came out in early July there with an interim draft report, we recommended a second scenario. The second scenario, proactive development of the airport, supported by the build-out of its assets, and really focusing on optimizing the level of service for its current users, the oil and gas sector, air ambulance operations, largely continue with the same operational model as a registered aerodrome, but also making some moderate investments in the capital assets at the airport to, again, tie service levels to what was being required from your existing users out there. With that interim draft report, we also laid out an option for the pursuit of scheduled passenger air services, and we noted from that July 8th council meeting that especially was noted as a strategic priority for council. Obviously, there was scheduled passenger services at the airport in historical times there, no longer the case for the airport. So we had this sort of blended outcome of that July council meeting whereby there was the desire to optimize service levels for current users, industry stakeholders, but also lay out a bit of a framework for pursuing airline service restoration at the airport in the future. So with that, the airport master plan has sort of a three-part planning framework, and this ripples through all of our analysis, all of our recommendations through the document. The first key component of the airport master plan is what we refer to as asset management and core service delivery. So those are recommendations, and I'll underscore everything in the master plan is just that. It's a recommendation laid out by our team, but very much at the discretion of council and the MD for whether or not they implement in the future. But those asset management and core service delivery projects are initiatives that are needed to ensure the continued usability of the airport and its safety over time. So essentially, those projects are less discretionary in nature. They have a defined need that is anticipated in the years of the master plan, whether in the short term, the medium term. They have a defined horizon or year when that's targeted to be completed. And again, to really underscore less flexibility in whether or not they're implemented in the future. The second category of recommendations that our team lays out are what are referred to as level of service improvement projects. So what those initiatives are steps taken to improve service levels for your main users, your main stakeholders at the airport, pursue economic development. And generally speaking, we've structured level of service improvement projects to be discretionary in whether they are implemented by the MD or whether they're advanced in the future. And really what I mean by discretionary and implementation is they're tied to market demand, they're tied to the availability of external sources of funding. So there's a bit more flexibility in their implementation. The final category is initiatives or recommendations that's tied to that strategic goal that I mentioned in the previous slide, established by council, and that being scheduled passenger air service readiness. The master plan is being deliberately structured in a way that's very flexible on account of the very dynamic and quite frankly challenging nature of regional air services at the time of its preparation. Essentially, the way the master plan is structured is if initiated by the MD in the future, that whole process would start with an air service demand and market feasibility study. So that would entail a very comprehensive analysis of passenger data for travelers in Bonnyville and Cold Lake and surrounding area, review of where the regional air service market is at, what companies are engaged in those services, where there may be fits for Bonnyville. And based on that model, and I'll come back to that in a few slides here, what is the specific service scenario that may be feasible for Bonnyville or may not be feasible too? I mean, it's a study without a preconceived outcome there. So the master plan is structured that if there is to be a feasible form of passenger air service found in the future, that can be added on as a bit of a tack on to the core recommendations for asset management, the first column, and level of service improvement. Now, in the subsequent slides here, I'll walk through kind of an assessment of area by area of the airport, the various capital assets out there, and some of our primary recommendations. As council can appreciate, there's a lot of detail in the master plan, so this will be more of a high-level overview, but happy to take questions at the end of the presentation here. But the major area of focus in the master plan is what we call the movement area and the transitional infrastructure. So the runway, the taxiways, the aprons, kind of this core aviation assets of the airport. Planning for those facilities is done using a concept called a design aircraft. So a design aircraft is the largest, normal user of the airport with the most operationally demanding characteristics, whether for its size on the apron and the runway length required, or all those different characteristics we analyze. And the master plan uses two aircraft as the design aircraft. So on the left, you see the smaller Dash 8-300. That's a 50-passenger aircraft that makes regular use of Bonnyville. I think there's actually one scheduled to come in tonight on an industry charter. That is an aircraft that is currently operating at the airport. It's anticipated to continue operating at the airport into the future. And it's very much a reflection of, planning for this aircraft ties back to the needs of industry sector, the oil and gas sector charter operations. The aircraft on the right is the slightly larger Dash 8-400. That's a roughly 78-passenger aircraft. We've outlined the need for a design aircraft protection, basically to provide future flexibility for widespread increases in charter activity at the airport if that demand is realized in the future through broader economic activity. So again, it's not necessarily the core of our recommendations, the core of our analysis, but there's several areas, particularly runway length and apron capacity, where we've said, hey, we need to be considering the potential realization of larger operations by the 400 in the future there. As we move through the movement area, the transitional infrastructure, some of the key priorities that came out are as follows. So with respect to the aircraft parking apron, what we refer to as Apron 1 in the master plan, the scale of resource sector charter activity that occurs today can see multiple Dash 8 300s, multiple smaller 18-seat Beechcraft 1900s, essentially several large resource charter aircraft operating on the airport simultaneously. Commonly, that's Tuesday evenings are the peak time there. And there's a lot of deficiencies and a lot of challenges that come with accommodating that weekly surge in charter activity. That includes the basically the parking of aircraft too close to the runway, so the tail heights penetrate protected obstacle limitation surfaces. For aircraft to park in the area available to them, they have to power back under their own power without anyone watching for safety or for clearances there. There's conflicts with the location of the fuel system relative to the apron. It kind of becomes a bit of a cork in the bottle. And also to the overall capacity of the apron can be negatively impacted, particularly when there's other smaller sort of non-charter aircraft parked on the apron that further inhibit the ability for these larger charters to move through the apron unencumbered. And of course, there's other facilities nearby, the terminal building, privately owned hangars. So it's a very constrained operating environment with quite a lot of activity that moves through on a weekly basis there. This will come through in a subsequent slide, but the master plan outlines a three-part approach to resolving those challenges. In the immediate term, sort of the next 1 to 2 years, that's about formalizing operations, so establishing parking positions, establishing apron management structures for how aircraft can move through safely. The next phase is sort of a modest expansion of the apron area to the south to give additional room for aircraft taxiing and parking. And then the longer term, kind of the ultimate term of that apron with the potential acquisition of hangar properties immediately to the north, it's further build out to the north to really remove all the operational limitations experienced and provide that maximum parking capacity. So the apron, a major area of focus in the master plan, just based on the scale of activity that moves through there today and is anticipated to continue to do so in the future. Second major initiative is airfield pavement rehabilitation. So the surface characteristics of the runway, primary taxiway, and apron, we anticipate based on the current state of those assets and their age since the last rehabilitation, they'll likely require rehabilitation within the next 5 years. So the runway, primary taxiway, and apron, and the secondary taxiways at the airport likely needing a rehab within sort of that 5 to 10 year horizon. This is something that the MD has given initial consideration to in terms of the scope of that project, whether pavement overlay or a mill and pave operation, but there'll be a significant one-time capital expense to bring those assets back into a safe, ongoing, usable condition. There'll also be select airfield replacement projects, airfield electrical, replacement projects within the sort of short to medium term horizon. The overall condition of the airfield lighting and visual aids is quite good. The MD did complete a major upgrade project in recent years, so this will be addressing some smaller components such as airfield signs, wind direction indicators, and the approach path lighting. And other items here include enclosing the boundaries of the airport, so finishing up the southern fence line there, and also doing enclosure work along the northern perimeter where the hangars are, where the terminal is, to ensure safety and also contribute to wildlife management. One of the major areas, though, that we gave considerable due diligence on was the topic of the runway length at the airport. This has been something that's been raised a lot in stakeholder consultations. It's been raised in community consultations as well. And essentially, how long does the runway at the airport need to be, and does it need to expand beyond the airport property boundary? Aircraft performance and the design aircraft planning, the design aircraft protection is quite complex. There's a range of factors, including payloads, weather conditions, runway surface conditions there. But the key findings are essentially that the design aircraft planning, so the Dash 8 300 that makes regular use of the airport, does incur weight restrictions in especially summer months when density altitudes are higher, aircraft performance is lower, and also when the runway surface is contaminated with snow or ice or high levels of moisture. So that aircraft currently experiences performance limitations on occasion. The larger Dash 8 400s, so the design aircraft protection, would have increasingly severe performance limitations incurred. And essentially, for those two aircraft to have unrestricted operations at the airport, we'd be looking at a runway length of about 5,500 feet for the Dash 8 300 to 6,500 feet for the Dash 8 400. For council's reference, current runway length is about 4,400 feet, so shy for about 1,000 to 2,000 feet there. The master plan, and I'll jump to the next slide here. I think it illustrates it a little bit easier. The master plan has a two-part approach to the runway length. So what you see on the left here, this gray area identified with the number 10 call out, is an approximately 450-foot extension to the west. And essentially, this brings the runway out to its maximum length available within the current property boundaries. It makes incremental progress on the payload penalties incurred by the design aircraft. It also future-proofs against some minor reductions in the runway length that might be required in the east end to maintain ongoing regulatory compliance with the proximity of Range Road 55. And it brings the total runway length available to, again, that 4,500 to 4,800 foot mark for aircraft operations. So an improvement overall, but still deficient relative to the kind of unrestricted operational performance scenario for both design aircraft. What you see in the inset drawing on your right here is therefore the two options that are considered for achieving those longer lengths, that 5,500 to 6,500 foot mark there. And what's notable about this is both of those scenarios would involve the extension of the runway to the east across Range Road 55, so the termination of that roadway to the north and the south there, and also private property impacts. So we obviously recognize there are considerable implications to that in terms of connectivity in the rural area, landowner impacts, and also just the capital costs of bringing out the runway assets to that size there. So those are initiatives that, if initiated in the future, there would be considerable additional industry due diligence required, really honing in on whether current operations, foreseen operations require the unrestricted performance scenario there. And also too, just the characteristics of, whether that connectivity impact with Range Road 55 is acceptable to the MD, acceptable to landowners. So again, further due diligence required before any extension of the runway to the east beyond the property boundary would be required. And again, the need for that partially offset by the ability to expand modestly in the west. Just to walk through a few other features here of the airport development plan and the airside system. What's shown here is that maximum build out of the apron to accommodate the maximum, aircraft demand we anticipate being required in the future. I'll return to this in a moment here, but a preferred location for a new terminal facility for charter passengers for the industry sector. Additional airside development land shown in dark blue on the eastern end here, and also some modest other improvements to the width of the taxiway, aircraft refueling facility relocation, and potentially the widening of the runway if if required by the design aircraft in the future. Moving through the different categories of the master plan, the second major topic is that of aircraft support services. So it's important to note that for the most part, the MD isn't directly engaged in providing supporting services to aircraft operators. Those are mainly provided by private entities or by the operators themselves. Major initiatives outlined in this category, it's more modest relative to the movement area that I talked about previously. But the first is aviation weather services. So the installation of a weather camera by the MD in the 1 to 5 year short-term planning horizon to provide an additional tool for pre-flight planning. That's something raised by both industry charter operators as well as the air ambulance service provider, and also the replacement of the automated weather station that's currently at the airport once it reaches its end of anticipated useful service life in the 6 to 10 year horizon, that medium-term planning period. With aircraft fueling, as I mentioned, the MD currently isn't responsible for any of the fueling infrastructure out there. Those are owned by Bonneville Air Services and Flight Fuels out of Edmonton. So there aren't defined recommendations for the MD to enter the fueling environment, enter the fueling game there. But instead, the recommendation is to essentially formalize the current arrangements at the airport. The tanks out there, to our knowledge, are without lease agreements, without license agreements there. So laying out those agreements to address, the mutual protection of the MD and those parties, and also ensure their long-term stability and future availability at the airport. And there's also the topic of ground handling services. This encompasses mainly aircraft de-icing, and as we get more into the scheduled passenger air service conversation, passenger loading, baggage handling, things like that. And I'll return to that later on in the presentation here. The other major area of focus that we heard, especially from industry charter stakeholders, was the deficiencies of the current terminal building. This has been something that the MD has given consideration to previously. We understand that initial designs have been done and consideration was given to replacing the terminal building in years past. On that account, likely well-known deficiencies, but just to restate briefly, current peak hour activity, so days with maximum levels of resource sector charters, can see about 100 passengers or up to 100 passengers departing and an additional 100 passengers arriving in a very condensed window, kind of an hour to 2 hour window during those peak days for workforce charters and turnarounds there. The current size of the building, its functionalities, including bathroom capacity, seating, passenger amenities, they represent significant level of service challenges. That was consistently reported by both resource sector stakeholders themselves as well as their charter air carriers. And what the master plan has done is it's taken a bit of a different direction on previous consideration for the replacement of the air terminal building. The preferred concept advanced through the master plan is actually for a new standalone, cost-effective resource sector charter terminal to be developed, likely using prefabricated structures. So ACO trailers, ACO structures brought together into a more of a comprehensive building, likely with industry contributions. That's the preferred model for the funding of that project, but essentially a turnkey, cost-effective prefabricated solution to those major scale-ups in charter activity, dedicated primarily to the resource sector and ideally advanced with their financial support. The advantages of that model in our concept are potentially lower overall capital costs relative to the replacement of the current building with a traditional structure that accommodates those larger swings of demand, and also future-proofing as well. That if there is a downturn in oil and gas sector charter demand into and out of the airport, it's not a larger more cost expensive structure that now is oversized relative to its needs. You've got an ACO facility that may be able to be brought down, or at least the initial capital was lower. The current terminal building in this scenario would be retained for use by non-oil and gas sector users, so air ambulance crews, private aircraft visitors, and also the administrative facilities that are in there today, with some life cycle upgrades to address known deficiencies at the building. So it's a bit of a two-part model contemplated in the master plan, that dedicated facility for the oil and gas sector charters and retain the current building for that modest level of ongoing use by air ambulance crews, private aircraft, and similar users there. And as shown on the previous slide, their preferred location for that oil and gas sector charter facility, just north and west of the current building in the parking lot to the west there. With the terminal building, a similar discussions had on groundside infrastructure, and again, sort of those peak swings in terms of groundside access requirements by motor coaches, rental vehicles on those peak oil and gas sector charter days. The master plan has a few key elements from groundside roadway and parking infrastructure. It contemplates actually the overall shifting of groundside access away from the current airport access road where it comes from the highway. It's a deficient intersection with limited characteristics in terms of off-ramps, turning radius, and known deficiencies in that respect. And actually the redistribution of vehicle traffic to and from the airport onto the current Aurora Borealis roadway network. Obviously, the intersection immediately to the north of the current airport access is improved with various Alberta transportation requirements, and the roadway network as a whole is more conducive to the types of traffic that does currently access the airport, such as motor coaches. The concept for a new resource sector charter terminal includes a new parking lot immediately to the north of that facility in lands currently owned by the MD just south of the maintenance garage and north of the airport. So a larger facility to move those larger users away from the current substandard parking lot. One of the major areas of focus, though, and I'll note back, that work that was done by SEMA Plus in parallel to the master plan, was on the consideration by the MD of the extension of water and sewer services to the airport. I'll kind of contextualize this comment by saying the water and sewer services at the airport is a much bigger conversation than just the airport itself, just airside development itself. Summarized briefly, the work that was done by SEMA Plus found that the extension of water services north to the airport and the surrounding area, so Aurora Borealis and some properties in between the town and the airport, would be in the estimated capital range of about $19 million, $18.8 million, and sewer services to bring those north to the airport and the surrounding area, to the tune of around $21 million. Those are major capital investments, and through the work that our team has done, yes, there would be definite advantages for the availability of water, the availability of sewer at the airport in terms of especially fire suppression, meeting the needs of its current users, but not of a scale of benefit that would justify those capital costs on their own. As I mentioned previously, the work that was done by Parcel Economics on non-aviation land demand in the vicinity of the airport similarly found that, sort of the net gain in development interest would also likely not justify the capital costs of those initiatives there. But, we recognize too that the MD's broader strategy for the provision of water and sewer, again, transcends specifically the airport file, but the airport on its own is unlikely to justify or necessitate the extension of water and sewer as standalone investments. I've mentioned a couple points throughout the presentation here, the topic of scheduled passenger air services and air passenger service readiness. It's important to note that for the airport to transition from its current operational model to one that could support scheduled services in the future, there are a number of steps and investments, both operating and likely capital, that would be required. So it's a considerable undertaking. And as I mentioned previously, this comes at a time where overall the regional air service landscape is quite challenging. We see communities like Lloydminster lose service altogether, Lethbridge, Medicine Hat, fighting to keep their current service levels up with incumbent air carriers. Red Deer, another community that's lost service in years past there. So it's a bit of a challenging landscape from an air service development perspective for regional markets like Bonnyville and Cold Lake. To restate from the start of the presentation, the master plan contemplates a flexible model whereby at any point in the future, the MD could initiate the process of pursuing air services through a air service demand and market feasibility study, really giving a tangible answer of what is the feasible model of air service, if any, that could be brought to our airport. What are the types of air carriers? What aircraft are they flying? What are their specific requirements? And then developing kind of an action plan that follows that are very tailored into a potential air service provider. In terms of operational changes that would be required for the airport, it would be required to seek certification by Transport Canada. So that's a major effort from an administrative and operational perspective. Steps like the designation of accountable executives, safety management system implementation, defined staff roles for the airport, ongoing quality assurance auditing, and even just going down the initial certification process is quite involved from a resource and time perspective. Requirements for airfield infrastructure likely wouldn't be more onerous or more stringent than those I've laid out in previous slides for the charter activity that occurs by the resource sector. Based on the size of the local market, if there was a viable air service opportunity, it would likely be served by an aircraft in kind of that 9 to 18 seat bracket there. So those are aircraft that wouldn't impose requirements above and beyond those I've talked about in previous slides. But there would be additional requirements in terms of the terminal building, so having that passenger-facing infrastructure, if flights are going out secured, attaining CATSA pre-board screening designation, which is, again, quite an uphill battle these days. And also, again, ensuring that you have contractors available at the airport to do passenger handling, aircraft ground servicing. So this is all to say, the MD has flexibility on when it chooses to initiate the pursuit of air services, and that study, that air service demand study, will really form a very concrete definition of here's what it'll take to bring that opportunity to fruition if there is a viable opportunity identified. The airport master plan has considerable recommendations, and obviously with that comes costs associated with them. We've broken the different categories of recommendations into 2 defined planning periods. So the short term, the next 5 years, and the medium term, the 5 years that follow in the early 2030s. In the short term planning horizon, we lay out about $5.9 million in capital recommendations that are, tied to implementation years, tied to recommended implementation there. And the bulk of that funding total is asset management and core service delivery. So about $5.4 million of that total of $5.9 million is just the rehabilitation of current assets and taking steps to ensure the overall safety of the airport, with about $500,000 being projects to improve the service levels at the airport. Moving into the medium-term planning horizon, as that initial capital curve, that initial capital hump is overcome there, costs are shown to decrease from a capital perspective down to about $1.3 million. And again, that's just back to the rehabilitation of core assets at the airport. But when we get into that final column there on the far right, the discretionary projects that are tied to the level of service improvements, so the extension of the runway beyond the property boundary being the larger single expense there at about $7 million of that $12 million. That is a significant funding total that represents more than the core projects in the short term and the medium term planning horizons at about $12.5 million, and really represents quite a considerable capital funding challenge for the MD to overcome. There is external funding available through the province of Alberta, through the Strategic Transportation Infrastructure Program with community airports and local municipal initiatives. That's good for the rehabilitation of your current core assets, your airfield pavements for the runway, taxiway and apron. Historically, that's been a very heavily subscribed program and does have its limitations there. But what's important to note is actually that discretionary area of cost, that level of service improvement, at the time of the master plan's preparation, there isn't necessarily a grant funding program we can point to and say this would cover off the majority of those totals. So that's where the conversation turns to, one, the MD's internal financial resources. And we recognize that in the context of overall capital requirements of the municipality, that is a considerable undertaking to advance. but also the consideration of whether industry partners, particularly the oil and gas sector that benefits so directly from the airport, can be used to partially contribute to some of the capital projects being recommended through the master plan, and also, of course, monitoring for new sources of external funding, in the years ahead as the master plan recommendations are advanced. Just coming to a close here, the master plan takes a 20-year look at the airport. A lot of the recommendations are very long-term in nature across those 5, 10, and 20-year horizons there. But as we went through our work, we did think it was worth noting a few recommended short-term strategic initiatives. So to accompany the master plan's initial rollout, the first is the development of a clear mandate to the economic development team at the MD with respect to the airport. So we see economic development being a priority for the airport master plan there, trying to bring new airside tenancies, new airside users to the airport to boost its overall utilization, its economic impact, and its revenue generation. And that, in our team's opinion, at least kind of flows down to the economic development department to take the lead on that there and have a clearly defined mandate to pursue that expanded form of activity at the airport. The second short-term recommendation is for an operational service level and staffing assessment to be completed. One very clear recurring area of feedback from aircraft operators of all scales up to the charter operators and air ambulance service providers is since the MD assumed the ownership of the airport, it has done a very positive job in terms of operating service levels, especially in winter maintenance. That's been a major area for improvement that's been seen by stakeholders. So the second recommendation would be saying, does the MD currently have the resources that it needs to sustain that high operating service level into the future? Is there a need for additional cross-training of public works individuals or staffing dedicated to the airport? So taking a comprehensive view of the airport and its requirements and ensuring that there are the staffing resources that enable that success to continue in the future. Accompanying that is the third recommendation, so documenting the airport processes into basically an airport operations manual to ensure organizational continuity as staff change over time. That basically buildup of knowledge and how the MD runs the airport is cemented in operational policies, operational documentation, and just moving through here. Also bringing in the Bonnyville first responders to occasional training exercises for the airport to ensure that safety piece is accomplished. And as I've mentioned in previous slides, the discretionary implementation of an air service demand study. And then on an ongoing basis, of course, this comes back to the MD's ongoing governance of the airport. So ongoing business and action planning to take the recommendations of the master plan and move them forward into annual capital and operating budgets and staff mandates, developing key performance indicators to measure success for the airport over time and ensure it's accountable to council review, council scrutiny, and also public knowledge of what is going out at the airport today. And then on a 5 and 10 year cycle, going through including comprehensive reviews of the master plan and then updates, when warranted, likely on a 5 to 10 year basis there. So with that, I will express just what I opened the presentation with. On behalf of our team at HMRO, we've been very grateful to work with the MD, whether council, whether administration, or stakeholders in the community over the last approximately year in this project. We're happy to have had the opportunity to develop this airport master plan for what really is a key regional transportation, economic development, and social asset. And I'm happy to take any questions of council if I still have time here.
All right, thank you for your presentation. Council, any questions?
And I guess we are back to the issue. Sorry, I don't quite get the room audio there. I'm not sure, Stephanie, if we can kind of get a workaround on that.
Can you hear me now?
So, Mr. Reeve, I'll just confirm, we did have IT and come in and take a look, and they've confirmed that barring any back-end issues, everything looks to be operational on our end. So I'm not sure if it's something on his end or something further down in the back end on ours, but on the surface, IT has confirmed that our side seems to be operating properly.
Okay, how do we get a hold of this individual with a phone and tell them that we're done? Yes.
I don't know if an option is for administration to take any questions of council and have HMRO address those and then send them out to council separately afterwards.
Okay, we can do that.
That might be the best, just since he can't hear us, that dialogue will be a bit more challenging.
Well, I don't think all of us know sign language, and I don't know if he knows sign language, so that's about our only option, so very good. All right, thank you. Sorry, buddy, that we have to cut you off, but that's how she goes. So if anybody has any questions, just reach out to Steph after the meeting and give them to her, please. We're just gonna need a motion, though. Who would like to make that motion? Okay, thank you, Councillor Palmer, for making the motion that council accepts the presentation by HM Aero Aviation Consulting regarding the final report for the Bonneville Regional Airport Master Plan project as information, furthermore directs administration to bring it back to a future committee of the whole for further discussion. Any discussion on this motion, council? I'm seeing none. I'll call for the vote. That's carried, thank you. I don't think our next thing is till 11:30, so we'll. Darren, how much time do you need?
That will be up to the number of questions you want to ask.
I don't know if we'll probably do you just after dinner, if that's okay. All right? All right, thanks. On to 9.4.1. I just killed my computer.
Good morning, Council.
Morning.
Today, I will be presenting two penalty tax cancellation requests. Prior to me presenting the first one, 941, both of these requests are wrapped around the existing or the current penalty cancellation policy. Does anyone on council have any questions regarding the policy itself? No? Okay. Excellent.
I think if you just kind of just briefly go over it with the new council, this
Sure.
way they're all in tune with what we did in the past to alleviate some of your, I guess, questions and issues you have about council.
Sure. Through the reeve to all of council, excuse me, property tax penalty cancellation policy 1.011 is a result of administration and council working together to establish a framework of like or similar penalty cancellation requests. Instead of bringing each one of those requests individually, that administration has the opportunity to put them all together because all of them meet the criteria that council has set out. The current policy, the framework of the policy is allowing or canceling penalties for the current year if the request is made in a timely manner, which would be in the September to December of the year of the September penalty, or January, February of the following year. And the reason for that is because there's times where, well, when administration puts the penalty on, there's no notice that goes out on the penalty. That notice is already defined in the tax notice. When these requests come in and they're requesting the cancellation of the current year's tax levy or tax penalty, that happens in September. If the requestor, the owner, their property has never had a penalty in the last 5 years on any of the properties they currently own, which if they sold a property in the previous year that had a penalty cancellation, that's not included in this review. It's only current properties that they own that council would be canceling the penalty levy. So that's kind of the framework of the existing policy. So it was basically to allow administration to package all of these like requests together and present them once to council. Prior to this policy, there were times where council, by the time they got to the third request, they concluded that maybe they should have done the first two requests a little differently. So this kind of resolves those issues. Through the Reeve to all of council, did I make it clear enough of kind of the understanding of what this policy is?
I think you had them from hello.
Okay. Thank you. So the first one is 9.4.1. Now, this request for penalty cancellation does not comply with the policy. MD policy number 1.011, property tax penalty cancellation policy, establishes a uniform and consistent approach for council to address property tax penalty payment cancellation requests in the MD. When administration receives property tax penalty cancellation requests for council's consideration, the requests are placed in one of two categories: requests meeting the criteria of policy 1.011 and requests not meeting the criteria of policy 1.011. A property tax penalty cancellation request was submitted by the property owner for one property. A review of the request concludes it does not meet MD policy 1.011. Roll number 610518-2002 had a 2023 penalty of $81.85 and a 2022 penalty of $818.53. The request to consider the cancellation on September of the September 2025 penalty applied to the current tax year. My mistake, that sentence really doesn't, I must have missed something there. The request is to consider the cancellation of the September 2025 penalty applied to the current year's tax levy. The penalty amount is $856.56. The 2025 tax levy was $7,137.96. The owner paid the tax levy in full on September 18th, 2025. The only tax amount outstanding is the $856.56 penalty in this request for cancellation. The request is detailed in Appendix A by the property owner, and the property tax penalty cancellation policy is attached in Appendix B. And through the Reeve to all of council, one thing I failed to mention in the summary of the policy is one of the other requirements is that prior to presenting the request to council, that the property owner has paid up the current year levy in full. So that's why the statement in this one did state that the property owner did pay the current levy prior to this request. The costs and sources of funding, council approval of this request will result in a reduction of property tax penalty revenues of $856.56. Council's decision will be communicated to the property owners through telephone call and follow-up letter. Administration recommends that council deny the request to cancel the September 2025 penalty for roll number 610518-2002 in the amount of $856.56.
Thank you. Councillor DeShane.
As far as I remember, we initiated some financial help for that building a few years ago and tried to get it back up and operating. And we weren't, it's a user-driven income on that building, right? On that infrastructure? Like the customers for the cleaning, seed cleaning is what drives the financials on that?
Through the Reeve to all of council, I've asked Matt to also come up to answer any questions specific to the operations on the property.
Through the Reeve to Councillor DeShane, yes, there was some financial help approximately 5-6 years ago. The MD at the time did give a grant of $500,000
Right.
to do the upgrades to the plant.
Yep. And to our knowledge, it is a customer-driven
Yes, yes, it
building?
is.
So it's, I think this situation should, I think we need more discussion on what to do with this because it's an ag-based support building and I think we have more to talk about on that.
Okay. Deputy Reeve Fadeev.
Yeah, thanks. It's my question, who sits on the Sealing Plan again? There's, none of us that sit on there? We used to.
Through the Reeve to Deputy Reeve Vidave. Approximately 2021, we stepped back from having a board member on the seed cleaning plant. So currently, we do not have any board members on the seed cleaning plant. We do host meetings at our office. We do provide administration for secretarial, doing the minutes and that for the meetings, and we do sit as an advisor. The agricultural fieldman does sit as an advisor just because we do the inspections at the plant, but we don't have a board member.
Yeah, the penalty is based on 2022, so it's sad that they just totally missed that part of it, so, okay, well, thanks for that. On further discussion, they paid last year's, but decided not to pay 2022.
Through the Reeve to all of council, the penalty is actually the 2025 penalty.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the previously in 2022 and I believe 2023, they also had penalties at that time as well. They have been paid up, but this is why it excluded this request from the list of the ones that do comply with the policy.
Okay, thanks, I read that wrong. Thank you.
Councillor DeShane? Oh. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, I didn't realize that was for this year either. Sorry. Thank you to the Reeve. So it's hard to wrap our head around that because we are a ag-based municipality, as far as I remember. And so I know the building is struggling from what I've heard. So I'm just wondering if we can get together as council and the ag board and see if there's something to discuss about this building and about what could the future of that building, I guess.
All right. Councillor Crick?
So did they pay the penalties for the 23 and 2022?
I think so.
They did. Okay.
Through the Reeve to all of council, yes, everything had been paid up, and as of June 2024, the balance outstanding was 0 on the tax account. June 6, 2024, and then the amount outstanding right now is only the 2025 penalty that was applied in September.
Councillor Palmer?
So just for clarity, the policy clearly states that if you have been in an arrears in the last 5 years, you do not qualify, correct?
Through the Reeve Tala Council, the way the policy was drafted was to focus on if all of the items in the policy were met on a request, they could be lumped together and presented all together as one to council. The ones that didn't meet the policy would be presented to council individually for council's consideration. So the recommendation to not approve from administration standpoint is administration concluded it did not meet the policy, and there were no errors on administration side in levying the penalty.
Thank you. Through the Reeve, I would think that maybe further discussion would be required simply because it is an agricultural-based service. I do recall a few years back where it was deemed to be a very necessary service. So I would ask that we bring this back after we have further discussion.
All right, would you like to make a motion to
Yes.
that effect?
Yes, please.
To bring it back?
To bring it back, and that council and the Ag Service Board has additional conversations to provide new councillors with a little bit more history behind the organization.
Through the Reeve to all of council, just for clarity, so the request is to bring back the penalty cancellation request after council meets or does something with the property owner?
I think that's what you meant.
Yes.
That would be option 3 essentially, is what
Yep. sorry, I guess I should have referred to that.
Would you like to read option 3, Caroline, and
Yes,
see if
I
that's what you'd like?
I just lost it. Just
While
bear
you're
with
doing
me.
that, I'll go over to Counselor DeShane.
Counselor Fadeo had some before me.
Yeah, I think the discussion about them being viable is something totally different. Right now, we have a penalty that they're asking us to waive, basically, because they've been, I guess, for the last 3 years, have not been meeting their tax, I guess, base payment. So again, that's what's up on conversation right now. Are we willing to waive the penalty? They paid it, but they did not pay the penalty. Whether they're viable or not is another conversation that we definitely should have. And I think kind of go from there, so.
Thank you.
To the Reeve, thank you. Yes, Counselor Fadeo, I agree with that. I think we should deal with the penalty part of this conversation right now and come back with a conversation and a meeting on this. I totally agree with that. So if we can move ahead with this portion of it, the penalty portion, I'd be happy to deal with that today.
All right, thank you, Counselor Caroline. Sorry, Palmer. Sorry about that.
So that leaves me with option 1, that council denies the request to cancel the September 2025 penalty for roll number 6105182002 in the amount of $856.56 tax penalty.
That's your motion?
Can't go against the policy.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Counselor Palmer, for making this motion that council denies the request to cancel the September 2025 penalty for roll number 6105182002 in the amount of $856.56. Any discussion on this? I'm seeing none. I'll call for the vote. Oh, sorry. Counselor Amalia.
So yeah, as I read the policy, yeah, it does it doesn't fit the criteria in the policy. But my understanding is part of the purpose of that policy is in the case it doesn't meet that criteria, that it then comes to council and we still have the option and authority to override that policy and make a cancellation of the penalty. Is that correct?
Through the Reeve to all of council, that's correct. Council has the authority in the MGA to cancel all or part of a levy or penalty if it concludes it's equitable to do so. This is presented on its own, and council has either option: cancel all, cancel zero, cancel a part.
Okay. So in further to that, through Reeve to council, I guess we do have the authority to cancel that penalty. The one thing to consider in that, though, is precedent. If we are willing to cancel it in this case, then what other cases are we willing to cancel penalty, and or is this, as some have alluded to, that maybe there are circumstances and reasons why in this case we would be willing to cancel this penalty.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Deputy Reeve Fadeev?
Yeah, thanks. I think there's obviously some concern there about their operations. Obviously, if we assess another penalty of $856, that just becomes a deeper strain to the company in question. And I think it's just we're at a road that in the last 3 years they haven't met proper deadlines for taxing. There's deeper issues than that. So, and I think giving them an extra $856 penalty is no way to kind of resolve that issue.
Councillor Amalia.
Yeah, I very much agree that $850 isn't going to solve anything. And as was stated before, that we do need to have the further discussion if and what council is willing to do for the MD to support or the future financial viability of that. So yeah, but that's correct. At this point, the only question, we need to look at that entirely separately, and at this point, the question is entirely on do we give the, are we willing to give a little boost by forgiving this penalty or not?
Thank you. Any other discussion? Yes, go ahead.
Through the Reeve to all of council, just kind of adding a little bit to Councillor Amalia's discussion point. The one thing about precedent setting, making a decision is really not precedent setting, although there is continuity and consistency that is something to consider. Every item brought up is based on its own merits. One of the things with the policy was to in certain cases where everything fit, that's where that consistency came in. But there is nothing in the Municipal Government Act that states that the framework of a decision for a cancellation is now binding on for future items presented to council. Was that clear or?
Way clearer now.
Okay.
Yeah. Any other discussion before I call the vote? Okay, I'll call the vote then. That's defeated. Thank you. Need another motion?
Through the chair to all of council, correct.
Who would like to make another motion? Councillor Amalia.
I'll move option 2, that council approves the request to cancel the September 2025 penalty for roll number 61051820002 in the amount of $856.56.
Okay, thank you for that motion. I'm going to switch, wait till it comes up. Thank you, Councillor Amalia, for making the motion. The council approves the request to cancel September 2025 penalty for the roll number 61051820002 in the amount of $856.56. Any discussion on this motion, council? Okay, going to call for the vote. That's carried. Thank you. On to 9.4.2.
Excuse me.
Yeah, sorry.
Through the Reeve. To give administration a little bit more clarity, would you, with the previous discussion, would you like the Egg Service Board to reach out to the seedling plant to discuss matters further?
I think they should, but I think some of the council members should be included in that, like myself.
Okay.
For
So-
sure, if anyone else would be interested.
Egg Service Board would include Ed and I.
No, so there you go. Yeah.
As part of the board.
And then through the Reeve, we could also ask you to join us at
Sure,
that,
I'd
at
like
that
to.
meeting. So
Thank you.
if we could have a motion draft up and give us direction, and then we'll reach out to the seedling plant.
Councillor DeShane?
I'd like to make a motion that we go ahead with that and invite all council to join us in the conversation and the meeting.
Very good. We'll wait for them to draft it up, Ed, and then you can take a peek at it and see if it's what you want. Lots of times it doesn't work. Lots of times it doesn't work. Okay. Just don't call you a gentleman, eh? It's on your screen there, Ed. Or not quite yet. Can we put that up on the big screen, please? Thank you.
I'm okay with that motion. You want me to read it out?
I got it. Thank you, Councillor DeShane, for making this motion that council directs administration to arrange a meeting between the Agriculture ASB Board and the Bonneville Sea Cleaning Plant regarding operations challenges and bring the information back to a future meeting of council. Any discussion on this, council? Yes, Councillor Crick.
Yeah, I thought the motion was, Ed had asked for the motion to be all council invited, not just the Ag Service Board.
Future meeting in council.
Oh, in council. Oh, wait, sorry, I missed that then.
Is that good? Any other discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. That's carried. Thank you. On to 9.4.2.
Thank you, Matt. 9.4.2, request for tax penalty cancellation that complies with the municipal policy. The MD of Bonneville policy, property tax penalty cancellation policy, establishes a uniform and consistent approach for council to address property tax penalty payment cancellation requests in the MD. With administration receiving property tax cancellation requests for council's consideration, the requests are placed in one of two categories: requests meeting the criteria of the policy and requests not meeting the criteria of the policy. 4 property tax cancellation requests submitted comply with the policy. These requests are summarized below and defined in Appendix A. So for roll number 6203151002, $139.17. For roll 8650216, 301, $132.99. For 8650209, 201, $232.87. And last roll number is 650209-1001 for $21.46. The property tax penalty cancellation policy is attached in Appendix B, and Appendix C includes the cancellation requests. The cost and source of funding, the approval of this recommendation will result in a reduction of property tax penalty revenue of $526.49. Council's decision will be communicated to the property owners through telephone and follow-up letters. Administration's recommendation is that council approve the cancellation of tax penalties in accordance with the municipal policy as follows. So as read before, the 4 roll numbers with the 4 penalties, $139.17, $132.99, $232.87, and $21.46.
Thank you. Looking for a motion, council? Councillor Crick?
Yeah, I'll make the motion to approve the cancellations in accordance with the policy.
All right, thank you, Councillor Crick, for making this motion. The council approves the cancellation of the tax penalties in accordance with the municipal policy as follows. The tax roll, there's 4 of them in a row there before you. Any discussion on this motion, council? I'm seeing none. I'll call for the vote. That's carried. Thank you.
Thank you, Council, and Happy holidays and Merry Christmas.
Yeah, Merry Christmas to you as well. I guess we'll take a break here. How's our next delegation coming?
They haven't arrived yet, but.
Good morning, Mr. Reeve and all of council.
Morning.
Administration is seeking council's approval on the amended audited consolidated financial statement in accordance with the Alberta Municipal Government Act. As per the Municipal Government Act, council must be presented with the audited consolidated financial statements, and due to an error in the budget number, administration is bringing back an amended report for approval. Attached for council's review is Appendix A, the 2024 amended audited consolidated financial statement. Administration's recommended action is that council approves the 2024 amended audited consolidated financial statement for the municipal district of Bonnyville as presented.
Yeah, Deputy Fadeev.
Yeah, thanks for catching that and clarification on that, and yeah, thank you. I'll make the motion to pass this new amended audit.
Thank you, Deputy Fadeev, for making this motion. That council approves the 2024 amended audit consolidating financial statement for the municipal district of Bonnyville as presented. Any discussion, council, on this motion? Okay, I'll call for the vote. That's carried.
Okay, thank you. Just for council's information, there was a question asked as to when our agreement would be up with the Matrix Group LLP. It was from 2022, ending in 2026. So in April or May of the 2026 year, we will be putting out a request for proposal to see what other audit financial companies will be putting in their quote for it. And then it'll be brought back to council at a future meeting, and then for council's decision from there, so that we can have it in the 2027 budget.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Let's do 9.5.1 then. Maybe she walked out the door. All right, let's take a break till 11:30 then. Welcome back. I'm just looking for a motion to go into a closed session.
I'll make that motion to go into closed session.
Thank you, Councillor DeShane, for making this motion that the meeting goes into closed section at 11:31 for the following reasons: ATIA sections 25 and 29. Any discussion on this motion? I'm seeing none. I'll call for the vote. Would you guys just like a, where's it coming? I haven't got any. Okay. All those in favor, raise your hand. That's carried. Thank you. Welcome back. I think we're going to 9.5.1. I believe we didn't do that yet. Yes, I think we're appointing a chair.
Yes, good afternoon, council. Participating municipalities with the Joint Assessment Review Board jointly appoint a chair to the board for a one-year term annually. This appointment shall be made in accordance with the provisions outlined in the Joint Assessment Review Board Agreement. To date, the Town of Bonnyville and Village of Glendon have appointed their members of council to the joint board. The appointed member of the town, which is Councillor Brian McAvoy, has volunteered to take on the role of chair for the next year, since the MD appointed a member last year. Administration is just looking for appointment of the chair to the joint board for a one-year term. Following council's motion today, I will pass that on to all of the other partner municipalities for them to make the same motion from their council as well.
Okay.
I'll make that motion for Brian. That's what we need to do. Make the motion for Brian. Yeah, I'll do that.
All right. That was too easy. Thank you, Deputy Reeve Fidea, for making that motion. The council appoints Town of Bonneville Councillor Brian McAvoy as chair of the Joint Assessment Review Board for a one-year term effective immediately. Like not now, but right now. Any discussion on this motion? I'm seeing none. I'm going to call for the vote. That's carried. Thank you. All right, Darren Mater back. You're up.
Go on camera.
Yeah, we need a motion.
I'll make that motion.
Okay. Thank you, Deputy Reeve, for making a motion to go into camera. Any discussion on this? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. Or maybe a show of hands. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. Welcome back. Yes. Welcome back. We're on to correspondence and information to our CAO.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, Council. Under items 10, correspondence and information, we have 11 items. At this point, administration wishes not to review any items, but say the following. At this moment, Merry Christmas to Council, the Chair, and to our public. We thank you and wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. That's it for administration.
Thank you. Any questions or you want to comment of any of the 11? If nobody has anything, looking for a motion for correspondence and information. Would like to make that motion?
I'll make that motion.
Okay. Thank you, Councillor DeShane, for making the motion that council accepts the following correspondence and information, 1 through 11. Any discussion on this, council? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. That's carried. Thank you. Reports from members of council. Who would ever like to go first? Go ahead.
How far back do we go?
How about 3 months? No.
We started some in November and we finished.
Probably from your last council meeting, but you were gone, so I guess.
Okay. So December.
Tell us about the vacation.
I'd just like to report I missed a online meeting with Greater North Foundation, but they sent me a Christmas card anyway, so I apologize to them for missing that.
You know, I never got a Christmas card from them, so you're doing good.
Okay. I will be attending our local Iron River School to meet with the grade 3-4 classes coming up to, I guess, tell them what we do as counselors in the municipality. And for about half an hour, I guess, so, and hand out a few things from the MD. So, other than that, that's all I have.
Whoever would like to go, just go ahead.
Give me 1 minute, I'm gonna find a couple things here.
Caroline? Good to go.
Lakeland Lodge and Housing, I went online, or Teams with them. I was in Edmonton that day, so didn't make it to their Cold meeting physically, but was online with them. Meeting with FCSS for strategic planning on December 18th, so hopefully we can put their needs assessment on the right track. And I missed my policing meeting because I was, again, in Edmonton in a dentist chair, unfortunately. And hopefully I'll make the next one. The parades, both parades I was supposed to be attending, unfortunately I was sick for both of them, so I felt bad about that, but hopefully the next month will be easier. That's it.
Thank you. Go ahead, Deputy Reeve.
Thanks. Alberta Care was in Leduc, met with quite a few municipalities there. They're having some challenges with the EPR program. So the province is looking at taking over all the recycling, and that seems to be a very interesting changeover. So some are doing really well with it, and some are not. So definitely a moving target for the next little while. So until they figure it out, I think we're doing pretty good on it, but we'll see where it goes. Cold Lake Chamber had a mixer. There was a lot of people there, and it was great to see everybody from the city, Cold Lake, and the EMD Bonneville that were had businesses around, obviously. So elected officials, emergency management training, we're all at North Star Building at BRFA, and C2 meeting, and it was on 8 o'clock in the morning. I think we're going to have that continually, so which is great. And I had a library meeting at later on that evening in Cold Lake, and just it's one of our first meetings, and they're just getting ready for Christmas and budgets and all that stuff. So we did not have a City of Cold Lake representative yet. And then exploring nuclear in a Zoom meeting yesterday, and they also had the course at RMA, but they also had offered it as well through a Zoom call yesterday, which I highly recommend anybody that didn't take it to take a look at it. I think it's opening another one next day.
I believe so.
Yeah, the next day or so it's going to be another one happening. So it's good information.
Thank you. Councillor Amalio.
No, I didn't have any, well, since the last meeting, I didn't have any other committees and such like that. Just was going to mention the assessment seminar, sat in on a Zoom seminar on that one, on the assessment process, which was really good and informative. Yeah, Bonneville Festival of Trees, their tree lighting and the Festival of Trees in the C2, and also the parade, the Santa Claus parade in Bonneville here, took part in that. Yeah, I saw the pictures from Cold Lake, and again, the one in Bonneville, yeah, it was really good. The way the department had the float and everything set up, it was done really well. Again, also that local authorities course through AEMA. Yeah, and then joining Caroline with helping deliver, or at least stand in for the picture with toys delivered to Ducharmes, and also the food bank. And at the Friendship Center, they gave us a tour after we dropped off the food bags. They gave us a tour of the facility, and so that was really good to see that place.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yep.
First, a quick question for Councillor or Deputy Fadeev. The government of Alberta taking over the recycling from the extended producer program, is that right?
That's the possibilities.
Okay.
So yeah, so that's kind of where it's kind of going. Right now, we're getting paid to do that service.
Yeah.
But eventually they want to do it. I know it's been happening in Ontario. So just an announcement a couple days ago that the city of Toronto is telling all the residents that they won't be picking up their recycling in the next little while, that there's going to be other means of recycling. So
Yeah, it just sounds kind of concerning to me when I hear something like that, because, you know, any other service that the province delivers, like healthcare or different things, it's always, the more you centralize it, the worse the service gets.
Yeah, it's going to be a private equity, or like sort of like a private firm that's going to be doing it, but more likely they're going to be like the real big outfits that are going to be doing it. So they're going to be taking care of all the residential and even farming. Like all the recycling. So it's going to be interesting to see.
Okay.
I don't think we're going to lose our service. We provide a good service, so we might be one of the ones that are going to be kept in this system, but some of the other ones definitely have challenges with it. So But yeah, it's a big concern. A lot of the guys have built up to this process right now, and they've put in a lot of capital equity in providing a service that might be lost. So yeah, there's some definite concerns.
Interesting. Hopefully it turns out good. Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah, so for myself, BRFA board meeting, went to the FCSS convention in Edmonton. It was good. I was there for mostly just the central day of the conference. Did an assessment webinar with Calvin and Dan. Still have a few questions on assessment, but getting a bit of an understanding there. Had a lodge meeting that I was able to go on virtually.
We did.
The rents went up $100 for the seniors per unit, just based on cost of inflation and everything else. Had a Northern Lights Library board meeting, Northern Lights Library System board meeting, and attended the BRFA Station 3 Christmas party in Glendon, and was participating in giving out the awards and recognition for the firefighters there. Very appreciative of all the work they do. Had a Bonnieville Library meeting last night, and also did an emergency management course that Councillor Fadeo alluded to. And then I also did an ICF webinar just in preparation for renegotiating some of the ICFs coming up here. So that's it for me.
Thank you. Councillor Klug.
December 1st, I went to Cold Lake Regional Utilities Commission. Learned about them bringing on their waste system commissioning in January, they're thinking. But I think there's a mix-up there because something's going on with Cold Lake First Nations. They're planning on connecting, and the board didn't really know anything about it. And they're starting the drilling already. So there's going to be a meeting about that coming up. What else? Elected officials course at BFRA. Good course, a lot of knowledge. All of us were there, I believe.
Nope.
Well, except for Barry. The other thing we did was chamber mixer in Cold Lake. It was good out to meet a whole bunch of people. Never did one of those before. Lots to learn. People to meet there. And FCSS was last night. Talked about the kids' sports program. Didn't really know much about it. I believe Brad Olin's also involved in the one here. So gonna talk to him about it and get a little more knowledge on that. And if anybody's got a chance, Sparkle in the Park is something good to go see in Cold Lake. Big turnout so far. I know I was there a couple nights, so if anybody's got a chance.
You know when that's over, or
I think this weekend, isn't it?
over on Saturday?
Yeah,
Thank you.
so
From the gallery.
it's a lot of fun. That's about it for me.
What time is it now? Just joking. I guess the BFRA was mentioned. We had a meeting the other day. Station 3 had an awesome Christmas party. A lot of nice things were said there. But the food is the best in the West, I'd have to say. We had a C2 board meeting, like Councillor Fadeo, Deputy Reeve Fadeo said. Had a Bonneville Medical Recruitment and Retention Committee meeting yesterday. Who else sits here on that board? What? Just me? Oh, I thought we usually have a councillor too, don't we? What's that? I just remember always, Josh, you were with me, weren't you before?
Mr. Reeve, I can clarify, it is
Yeah.
the Reeve appointed to the committee with the Deputy Reeve as the alternate.
Oh, okay. Little bit of a blonde moment there then. That was a great meeting. We talked about possibilities with a lot of things in the medical fields and just getting in new doctors and new staff and just there's always, we're in a big war with all the other areas in Alberta, so it's a tough thing, but I think we're doing okay. And also, Deputy Reeve said congratulations on getting the mayor's choice of a Christmas float in Cold Lake. So that's a pretty cool thing that we got. And then I'd just like to wish everyone a Merry Christmas on behalf of our staff, council, and myself to each and everyone out there in the MD, and God bless you and have a glorious Christmas season. Do we have to go back into closed session one more time, or did we discuss it enough there? All right. Who would like to adjourn this meeting? Thank you, no? No, what do I gotta do? Oh. I'm just gonna adjourn this meeting, and Josh said I could. Oh, thank goodness.